Hey guys, welcome to Darth Tyrax Presents. I'm Darth Tyrax, and on this episode, we're going to present the Tau, one of the armies in the game Warhammer 40k. Now, the Tau were introduced in 3rd edition, way back in 3rd edition. We're currently in 9th edition, and I believe 10th edition is coming out now, or soon anyway. And this is their latest codex, or book of information, rules, etc. The Tau are a technological society from the fringes of the Empire of Man, or the Imperium, fringes of that space area anyway. And they're a culture that are based on castes. There's warriors, there's, I guess, your shaman types, so on and so forth. They are heavily technological. They really are a tech-heavy society without any real psionics or magic compared to some of the other factions. Um, and they definitely make up for it with their technology. Their technology, compared to other forces, like the other factions' comparable tech or weaponry, they're usually better. Now, they are sort of in between what would be the Imperial Guard, who are your regular human soldiers, and your Space Marines, who are your super soldiers in power armor. The regular Tau troops are kind of right in between there. They're not quite as good as the Space Marines, but they're significantly better than your regular human troops of the Imperial Guard. Now, the book itself gives a lot of information, like, for instance, Firecast. They talk about different war zones, the different sub-factions within. And then the artwork's really nicely done too. Talks about the different formations and detachments. And then we get into a lot of the rule stuff in the rule book, and looking at different units and such. But by and large, it's a very effective army if you can diversify some of the things. Now, to show you what I mean by their technological aspects, like I'll show you some of their units. Like this is one of their tanks. It's very tech looking. Whereas some of the other tanks for some of the other shows are very almost steampunk looking and retro looking, with rivets and all these like angles and things where they're pretty smooth. They have lighter power armors like this, which is a stealth suit. Then you have your regular troops, scouts and regular troops. And they actually have a fairly anime feel to them with how they look. You'd almost think they would be in an anime. The Tau also tend to have some alien type forces as well, because, well, they allow them to fight for them. And then they have some heavier units, which are power armor, such as you have your crisis suit and you have your broadside suits, which are your heavy firepower, really. By and large, they are a fun army to play. They look really good. I'm not much of a painter, so they didn't look the greatest. And I didn't paint them. I bought them that way. But you get all your information in the book, and there's so many other varieties to go with it that you can have short-range firepower. You can have long-range bombarding firepower, and you know it's a lot of fun. It's my army. I don't play any other armies. Sometimes it frustrates certain opponents because of whatever army they're playing. There are so many armies in 40k. I think there's like 10, because there's like Space Marines, and then there's the Chaos Marines, and then there's Eldar and Dark Eldar, and you've got Orcs, and you've got Tyranids, and you've got Imperial Guard, and you've got the Sisters of Battle, and you've got like the Necrons, which kind of look like Terminators. So there's a whole slew of armies, and everyone kind of has their niche. The Tau's niche is high technology. So they have weaponry and things that other factions don't, like railguns. They have ion blasters, and I'm not sure if other ones do or not. Some of their stuff is pretty heavy hitting. Some of it looks very anime. They've got some that are like yay tall, and they're big, beefy looking things, but they definitely look high tech and look like they could have been in an anime of some kind. Now, they are deficient, however, as soon as you get into close combat. They're not close combat fighters. They're not very good at it at all. You get within melee range of them or charge them, and that's problematic. You're probably gonna wipe out the unit if that happens. So by and large, yeah, they are a good army for range combat. They're a good army. They're a good army in general, but again, if you're in a close quarters uh, map or table setup, which makes it easier for an opponent that's good with close combat to get into close combat, you may have some issues. You're probably going to be falling back a lot. But by and large, I love the look of them. It's much like when I play BattleTech or a number of other games. I look for the cool stuff. I'm not super concerned with how effective it may be because I like to play what I visually like, and I definitely visually like the Tau. Just as a whole, they're just I just love the look of them, and with the different commanders and different other special units, and just I enjoy playing miniature war games in general. So when I get a chance to play, I want to play what I like, and in this case, it's the Tau. Now, granted, 40k has gone through. They're going into their third edition in the last 6 years now, from 9th to 10th, and 8th only launched, I think, in 2017 ish or 2016. It's like June 2016 or 2017. 9th only came out a couple of years ago. In fact, this codex only came out February of last year. So now it's just over a year, and 10th edition is on its way, and it's going to be here soon. So it's just that's an issue with Games Workshop than it is with anything else. And obviously, nothing stops me from playing the edition I have. But it's still frustrating for players like me who don't get play all the time. In fact, I don't even think I've played a 9th edition game yet, despite trying to. But that said, the armies aren't invalidated. You can still use stuff from your armies because they generally give you some idea of what your army can do, or you can actually use the stuff from the previous edition. It just, there might be something that doesn't exist anymore, rules wise. But that all said, I love my Tau army. I've always enjoyed playing it. It's just fun to roll lots of dice, and some of these units, you go, okay, I'm going to shoot, and you're rolling like 30 dice, and you need a box to put them in, otherwise they'll go everywhere. But they're always fun, and that's the main thing for any of this, right? You play to have fun, and I love my army. The Tau are great. They're an army that if you can set up in a defensive position and force them to come at you, force your enemy to come at you, you can probably take a lot of them out before they get anywhere near you, just because you're going to outrange them and potentially outfirepower them. So, but that's basically it. This is a little shorter because there's not a lot really to tell because it's my army, right? But it's a game that if you want to get into miniature wargaming, it's not cheap. But if you can get into it and you can afford to get into it, it's a really fun game to play. I recommend the Tau because that's my favorite army. But that aside, there's a lot to choose from. And maybe at some point, anybody local will get a game in. So until next time, that was the Tau. I love my Tau. They're awesome. But we'll talk to you later. Cheers.